What's a little pole dancing at a men's conference, anyways? Pastor Mark Driscoll has come under more fire as though he hasn't before, although a lot of people are supporting him at the same time. So, what happened? There was a conference, men's conference called Stronger Men's Conference that happened recently. And one of the initial acts or entertainment was a sword swallowing man who climbed a large pole and did some pole tricks on it, kind of reminiscent of a stripper's pole. Now, it gets a little deeper because the man was formerly a male stripper. Now, one of the things to remember is it's being reported that this man's a Christian, that was a former life, and this act, the sword swallowing especially and all of that, has gotten him on TV shows like America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, all of that. And so he's doing his thing. He's doing his act. And your judgment on whether or not it was demonic, Jezebel spirit, okay, you can have your opinions. That's fine. And I'm not making a claim on that. The situation that happened was Pastor Mark Driscoll got on stage later and called it out as a Jezebel spirit situation. And the pastor of the church that was running the men's conference, John Lindell, yelled from the crowd that he was out of line, that Mark shouldn't be doing that. And so Driscoll went off stage. Then John got up on stage and said, Matthew 18, he should have come to me first. He didn't do that. He just went off publicly. And from what we see of this situation, I think both men are right and both men are wrong. The conference, I'll come back to that, but this idea of Matthew 18, going to your brother, John even said that Mark Driscoll and him had a conversation for half an hour and it never came up, and then he goes out on stage and does that. So he sounded blindsided, which I don't blame him. And there is some sense of, look, if you're in somebody else's house, another pastor's house, you're under his authority, he's given you the platform to speak. There's a certain respect that happens of if you see something wrong that you just cannot agree with, which I don't blame Driscoll for saying what he said, you at least confront them one-on-one first. And I wrote a blog about this. You can go to theselfevidenttruth.com, check out the blog. I get a little more into this process because there are some damages that can happen that are kind of needless. And imagine you're a pastor, you've invited somebody to come and speak at your church, and you've kind of rolled out the red carpet for this person. And then they get up on stage and they start lambasting you and your congregation for something you've done in worship. That can be frustrating. That can blindside people. That can really cause doubt and confusion, so strife into a congregation needlessly. Now, situation's a little bit different than that, but it's still, the fact remains, I do believe that Driscoll should have at least gone to him first, and if there was no reconciliation on that, well, then Driscoll can walk it up the line. Maybe he has to bring a couple more people who come and say, look, this was not good what happened, right? Give that pastor a chance to address it with his congregation or with the group that's come to his event. Now, on the other side of it, this whole Stronger Men's Conference format. And I'm going to cover this on my Forged channel and get more into the depths of where we're at in terms of especially Western Christian men's direction. But this conference is known for monster trucks in the auditorium and BMX bikes and bull riders and I guess sword swallowing and boxing matches and very like men's sports, cars, big muscles, big muscle cars, all of that. I understand the attempt. But a lot of people are pointing out it's just entertainment. You're confusing, right? So it's almost like, well, we'll get them in the door with a monster truck and then we'll hit them with the hard truth. But it's so cart before the horse. I don't need a monster truck if I'm going to something that I want to disciple me and elevate my Christian walk. I don't need a monster truck there. I don't need a bull rider there. Now, I might be interested in what a guy like Carson Wentz, who's been one of he's a NFL football player. He's one of those guys that you could aspire to or admire, or however you want to say it. I could see the value of having a guy who's been at the top of all of this have some interesting insights into how I walk out my daily life as a man. So I get that. I get the big name speakers. I get the connection that can happen in all of that. I have a harder time with this idea of, well, we need a monster truck in order to draw guys in. And I'm not throwing shade at the Stronger Men's Conference now. This church has kind of had some issues in terms of controversy, that, certain New Age occultic stuff in books and something about 3 toes growing back, but they won't show the photographic proof, and questions start raising, doubts start going. And at some point where there's smoke, there's fire. Is this something that actually invests into you as a man and grows you? Or is it just placating fleshly, worldly things and slapping a Christian label on it with some men at it? And this is really a lesson for you of what is drawing you to something. If it's going to be a men's conference, guys, especially for you, if it's going to be a men's conference or even a women's conference, what's drawing you to it? Is it the robust discipleship and getting in deep to the areas that you know you need to get in deep to? Is that what it's doing? Or is it placating a part of you that enjoys this thing and, we'll attach some Christ to it? I think we need to up our level. I think we need to up our standard. And I do believe the next generation really is seeing it as, no, I need to up my level. I'm sick of the show. I'm sick of I'm sick of the fake nature of things. I'm sick of the shallow things. I want deeper. And now that can get gone the sideways too, but that's another conversation. So in the end, I think this is a really good marker, and I think this is blowing up because this is a really good marker of, like, where is the men's movement in Christianity? What is it doing? What are the important pillars of it, and how is it going sideways? And I've talked before about other ways it's gone sideways, and that's another conversation. So I'll leave you with this. I think Driscoll could have done it differently, but I don't blame him for doing what he did. And I think perhaps this conference needs to have an introspective moment of, like, okay, maybe we did something wrong here, and we were trying to do something that just isn't a good path for us to go, and we need to back this up a little bit. Hopefully, we'll see. But either way, go to theselfevidenttruth.com, check out the blog. You can read more about it there, and be sure to get yourself some merch. Subscribe if you like this type of content. We're so grateful for every one of you. Love you guys.